When was the last time you looked around with intention of truly seeing? That is really the goal of photography, the personal project. To wake people up from the mundane and let them, for the first time in a long time, truly see. The camera has proven to be the perfect tool for the job in this instance, and when paired with the printed page, the physical weight of this book in your hand, you begin to really catch the vision. And welcome back to another photo book review type video from me. Today is a special one. This is a book called By Way of the Water by Kristopher Shinn, and it's interesting because it's either the first or the second photo book I ever purchased. I think it's the second, and what's cool about that is it's the first book I've bought from an individual personally, not just like, oh, this is cool on Amazon, right? And what makes that interesting to me is I've also had the pleasure of like commenting on some of Chris's work and vice versa, and he's messaged me on Instagram. So like, not only did I make a purchase and support someone's art that I very, very much appreciate, but I'm also getting to know this person. Like, I mean, I know it's on a very small level, but still, like that's important to me, to know the person behind the work. Kristopher is based in the state of Washington. I think most of this book is based in the Seattle area. And the premise behind this is his journey on ferries, either from island to island. I don't really understand the geography there, I've never been, but it's him aboard these ferries telling the story through his camera of not just the people that he encounters and the strangers that he meets, but it's also the boat itself, and it's the scenery outside of the boat. And it's this very intrinsic type of love story feel, if that makes sense, of this person with a camera and this tool creating these visual stories without words. It's Kristopher's way of seeing the world, and I think that is very, I mean, it's stunning work, absolutely stunning, as you can see here in some of these pages. But it's also very fascinating to me how he sees the world. I think it's very cool that like there's a lot of photos with people reading magazines or newspapers up covering their face, which makes them feel timeless to me. That could have been taken 20 years ago, you know, especially now in 2025, as print is really on the decline and has been for some years. It makes it feel nostalgic. And he could have taken that photo yesterday. I honestly have no idea. And what's really cool is Kristopher is a primary film shooter. I think his camera of choice is the Mamiya 7. And the film vibe and the film colors and the film grain really leads really well into this type of work, in my opinion. The colors in the water, the bluish greens, and the paint chips on the ship, and there's even a photo of a random mop in here. And I only say that because like it's like most people would walk by that and not think twice. They wouldn't even notice that the mop's leaned up in the corner, probably, myself included. But he is very intentional. He's very observant, and his work speaks for itself. I'm making this video, one, because I love making these types of videos with the photo books that I've purchased. I have a couple here on the channel, but this one in particular has meant a lot to me, so I've waited. I've kind of held on to it for a little bit because I have this new-ish, probably in the last 3 years, this new fascination with water, personally. I don't own a boat. I don't want to be on a boat necessarily. Like, I don't want to wakeboard and ski and sit on an island all day. Like, that's not what I mean. But the means of travel by boat are really fascinating. The first time I took a cruise, I have some similar photos, not to this degree or to this quality, but of like just the water rippling and things. Like it makes for it's almost fantasy like. It's this fairy tale type of image where you're telling the story of where you're going or where you've been with no context except for water. And I think it's so fascinating. Underwater photography is very fascinating to me. I have a Nikonos 35mm film camera that's made to be used underwater. I don't live anywhere where that's possible, so honestly I'd probably need to sell that if you know anyone looking for a Nikonos. But it's that mystery, it's that unknown, it's that what if of the water and what's underneath the water. I think that is so fascinating. I think that's partly why this started calling to me. But then as he's posting work on Threads and Instagram, it's like it's very obvious like that he's so good at what he does. As of making this video today, he has a pre-order for the third release of this book. I don't know if this will be the final run or not, but if you are any least been interested in Kristopher's work, now is the time to purchase the book. I'm very fortunate. When I ordered mine, kind of kiddingly asked him to sign my copy, and he did. And that means a lot to me. And so do all these pages. Every page in this book I could look at for hours and hours and hours. And I spent a lot of time with this book earlier this week. And again this morning. It's calming. I think that's the best way for me to describe what this book says to me. It's just inviting, it's calming, it's storytelling at its finest. And there are no words that aren't just signs in the photos. Like, there's no descriptions, there's no page numbers, there's no anything, but so many images in this book that it will speak to someone. And one thing really quickly I really enjoy about how he made this book, and I don't think I would ever have thought of that, he uses different aspect ratios. So like maybe the first frame I think is actually square, like 1x1 or 6x6 squared, does not fill the entire frame. The next page may be, a double page spread of one photo, and it's like it mixes and feels very, because you don't know what the next page is, so it's exciting to like get to the next page. There's a little bit of black and white in there as well, which obviously is my favorite. But Kristopher's color work is by far my favorite work of his. And I think it's so fascinating that in 2025 he's still able to make work like this on a ferry, out in the Pacific Northwest. It makes me want to visit. It makes me want to immerse myself in this situation. I don't have that here. I'm landlocked in the state of Tennessee. The nearest ferry to me that I'm aware of is in the Outer Banks out in Nags Head, North Carolina. And I did that once when I was very young, probably 8-9 years old. I don't remember it, but it makes me want to go back and try it. It makes me want to go spend a long weekend or a week just jumping from island to island just to try my hand at something like this. And I think that's part of the point. I think that's why photo books are so important to creatives. I think it's why they feel this niche, this need in today's society, when it's not scrolling, on our phones, and it's not flip at the YouTube channels looking for inspiration. It's physical. You can pick it up, you can hold it, you can flip through it, and it makes you want to be there. Kristopher, you nailed it, man. This book is phenomenal. I look forward to many of years of getting enjoyment out of this particular piece. If you're into photo books, if you're into photography, if you love the water, if you love storytelling, Way of the Water is a must-have in your collection. Kristopher, thank you for your book. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for sharing your work with us. I very much look forward to the next stuff you make, my friend. And we'll talk soon.